You are listening to Game Like Training podcast, where we talk about golf practice, golf learning, and golf psychology, amongst some other things. In this show, we're going to try to bring on professional athletes, world-leading pioneers in expert performance and the learning sciences, and we're also going to try to share with you our beliefs that have accumulated for over a decade in the industry. I'm your host, Matthew Cook.
And I'm your co-host, Ian Highfield. And to get started, I just want to say that we love golf and we love helping people. And it's that combined that has driven us to create this podcast. There's so much good information out there that we genuinely believe it's our responsibility to share this with as many people as we possibly can. So if you tune in and you like the podcast, please share it and leave us a review about the content that you've heard today. So, with no further ado, let's introduce him. Today's guest is ranked number 288 in the official World Golf Ranking, Mr. Chris Hanson of the European Tour.
Chris, thanks a lot for joining us on the show. I really appreciate your time. Not just me, but we appreciate your time. I know that you've got all sorts of things going on, so we really do value your time and energy on the show today with us. Really appreciate it.
Nice, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to speak to you guys as always, and I love listening to your stuff personally, so hopefully our chat today, people will enjoy it and get something from it.
Yeah, great. I mean, Chris is one of our 5 listeners and the most important one to us, so couldn't agree with him more.
He's definitely the best golfer that listens to us, although we're trying to get Richie Ramsey on the show, so you guys are going to have to battle it out. So I want to kick off, Chris. The whole focus of this show is such an important message, and a message that's often overlooked by golf coaches and golf parents, and it's that of dealing with adversity. If we look at the European Tour and if we look at the PGA Tour, we can see that everyone grips the club slightly differently. Everyone swings the club slightly differently. There's not really that many commonalities when we just visually watch a player. There might be when we go deeper into biomechanics, etc. But when we're looking at the golf swing, there's so many different ways of getting it done. Yet there's one quality that every elite player shares, and that's the ability to deal with adversity. So today's show is all about that, and I want our listeners to have a take-home message of how important that is, so they can help their children or help their golfers get better and start to implement this into training strategies. So, that's my big introduction. Chris, over to you. Can you tell us one specific occasion when you have had to deal with adversity to reach your goals of playing on the European Tour?
Yeah, absolutely. Many times I've been faced with adversity, and times when the biggest thing for me is probably when financially, as a family and as a golfer, I've been, you could say, rock bottom, or sort of last few pennies scraping the barrel to be able to not just play golf, but to actually put food on the table. I've got 2 young children, and so for the last 5 years, we've had extra mouths to feed, and it's a very rewarding game, is golf, but financially only at the top. It's very financially rewarding. So there's been many times, I can think back now straight away to 2014. An example then was middle of the season. I was playing on the Challenge Tour back then. It was up in Scotland, which was quite a big event for the Challenge Tour, and I just missed the cut. Me and my caddy we got in his caravan. We were sleeping in the caravan together, and trying to save some money, and we set off back down the road 8 hours from Aviemore, and I was on the phone to my wife at the time, and she was in tears, and I was in tears, and we were kind of saying, well, what we're going to do, and she basically said, what are you going to do, Chris? And I said, well, I've paid for the rest of this month for the expenses, what were coming, the 3 or 4 events I had in August, I think it was. I said, I'll play these events out. If nothing happens, I'll get a job. So I had a look online at a few jobs as I was driving down, just in case. And that was the Friday night. Got home Friday night. Monday morning, open qualifying. Practice round. Tuesday morning, qualified for the Open. And out of nowhere, I think I won £3,000 qualified for the Open. You get £3,000 for coming last in the Open. My sponsor gave me £3,000 to cover the costs of the week. And the day after, I went Challenge Tour, finished third and won £10,000. And I think it's just a huge example of back against the wall and a massive bit of adversity for me. And it seemed to bring the best out of my game.
Awesome, man. That's just such a good start to this interview. And you know, me knowing you personally, it's even better for me to hear this story again, because I know what you've been through. So my question is, you are on the Challenge Tour in this situation in 2014. You're obviously playing okay. How do you stay focused during that round of golf and not think about the potential of winning money or etc.? You know, how do you stay in that moment? You hear a lot, psychologists say, okay, stay in the process, stay in the moment. Well, when your whole career's riding on it, how do you do that?
I think you touched on it briefly before. Like, golfers are a strange breed, you know, and there's not many sports in the world where you constantly lose. You know what I mean? Like, personally, I've won at the third division level a few times, but nothing since then. So I haven't really won since 2011. Some golfers who've been on tour for 20 years have never won and will never win. And there's not many sports where you can practice and practice and practice and play well and not win. You know what I mean? Your football team wins, loses or draws, and you go away. Sometimes you can play bad, you can still win. Golf's totally different, and I think you just get hardened to the fact that there's so many knocks in this game, and I think, me personally, I brought myself up in how I practice and how I train to compete with myself as much as I can, and to set my own challenges, and just to constantly create my own little wins. So you'll set some goals, and each week then you're actually winning. You might be winning with yourself, but you can tick those off as wins and gain some confidence from doing these actions and these games. And I'd like to think that doing this for so many years, it just stands you in good stead for the time when your back is against the wall.
Awesome. Matthew, do you have any questions? I know you love the practice side of things and the training environment, as do I, but you know, you started this company called Game Like Training a while back, and then I joined you. So do you have any questions regards Chris's practice and how he does that?
Yeah, Chris, I think you hit the nail on the head. But it's different, I think, from golf from your perspective and ours, because you are at the highest level, and you're competing at essentially the highest level of golf. You're there doing it in person, where I've never been there, Ian's never been there, and to be honest, there's not a lot of golf coaches that have been there. So you know, it really makes me wonder if you ever went into this sport knowing, you know what, I'm gonna lose 99% of the time, because like you said, you know, there's some guys that are out on tour that are going to be out there, they haven't won and they're never going to win. You know, did you go into this knowing that, and how did you train for this inevitability of losing more often than winning? How did you train for that?
It's a great question. You know what? I don't know. You grow up. I grew up as a kid, dreaming to be on the European Tour and to win on the European Tour. And I don't know. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, did I ever think I would be on the European Tour? I honestly couldn't tell you yes or no. I didn't probably think I would. Do you know what I mean? It's growing up. You know, you practice those putts as a kid, thinking you're winning golf tournaments, and I think you've got this dream that that's all it is. You're out there winning, it's an easy ride, and it is a shock. It is a shock. It's a very tough road, and there's not many guys who, a very limited amount of people who actually jump straight to the top and have a career what's plain sailing. But in terms of preparing yourself for the failures, you know, I don't honestly really know. Not from a young age. Maybe it's just in your upbringing, how your parents have taught you about the game of golf, really, and.
Yeah, that, you know, it's.
I mean, I had a good role model in my dad who always kept me grounded and probably taught me a lot about the game and how it might pan out, I guess.
Yeah, you know, that's what I was wondering. I bet most don't anticipate that, do they? So it comes back to what you just said. You know, your father was a good role model, and I believe, and maybe you believe this too or don't, that golfers, for the most part, I bet they don't anticipate that much failure. They don't train for it because they don't know that that's the reality when and if they get to the top of the big leagues. So it does boil down to, I think, a good parenting, you know, a good healthy lifestyle back at home with the social and the environment that you have around you, the support system, the support network that you have, that can.
I think so. Sorry, I'm struggling. I think, like you say, I was going to say, especially the elite amateurs who go through a different road to how I did it, where there's a group of these 12 potential superstars, or as they're told they're going to be, and they're sort of looked after. Everything's paid for, they're taken everywhere, everything's done for them, they're told they're the best kids in the world. And then if they don't achieve straight away, then that's one heck of a pill to swallow. It's a real tough battle for them. You see so many guys who were elite golf amateurs and just don't get anywhere near the grade once they turn professional.
Yeah. Chris, I love that you've brought that up, because you have coaches and parents that often look at Rory McIlroy, never went to tour school. You know, Spieth holes out the bunker. If he doesn't hole out the bunker, he has to go to tour school. There's all of these. There's these journeys that are very fast, and you know that's going to happen. But it's not the standard. The model that you actually went through, when a child says to their parent, or when a junior golfer says to their coach, "I want to play on tour." For me, they need to be prepared for the Chris Hanson journey, not the Rory McIlroy journey.
Right.
So, can we just ask a couple of things, you know, with regard to that? Because obviously all this has helped you deal with the adversity. How often did your dad come and watch you? What kind of advice did your dad give? What kind of coaching have you had off Mark Pearson and coaches prior to that helped you build this character to get onto the tour?
Yeah, I would say my golf upbringing was pretty good. I was never forced into it. I had two very keen parents who played golf. My mum was maybe 12 handicap at best. My dad was a scratch golfer. I played football till I was 13 and golf at the same time, and it got to a point where it was Sunday league football or Sunday golf junior medals. And I was never pushed into anything. I think it was probably me just taking the easy option out and saying, right, I'll just go to the golf club because my mum and dad go to the golf club. And I just, from there, was up there all the time with them. And there was definitely no forcing me into anything, and just constant encouragement and but no pushing at all. I had a coach called John Eyre from the age of maybe 11, 12 or something who helped me all the way through till I was 20, 21, and just a great guy for the game. I mean, he loved the game, he loved his coaching, and I had a slow progression throughout my whole career as a professional. But even as an amateur, I didn't do anything. I played for the Yorkshire men's team, but none of the EGU stuff, none of the worldwide amateur, or no team other than just the county golf. And I always joke with the guys on tour now when I'm playing, and I always quiz them about their careers, and I say my highlight was a midweek medal win.
I just want to take this point.
It's crazy, really.
Chris, can I just interject? I just want to remind the listeners that you're now 288 in the world. So
All right, cool.
your highlight of your career was the early career was a midweek medal win. The highest level you've ever won at is the Division 3 level, as you put it. And you never played for England, and you played for the Yorkshire men's team. So again, it comes back to this dealing with adversity. There's a lot of kids that would have had your goals that if they didn't get picked for England, they would have quit. They would have been told they're not good enough, and they would have quit. And you didn't. So now the crazy question, why? Why did you develop this ability to deal with adversity? Why did you not quit? Anyone who's sane would have probably quit. So why did you not?
Probably because my wife wouldn't let me quit.
Awesome.
Do you know what, honestly? I say to a lot of people, I've got such a fantastic group of people around me. That's the biggest advice I always say to anyone turning professional. You need a team of people around you who believe in what you're doing, who believe in you as a person, who want to see you do well, and there to help you. I mean, they're not scared of any criticism. I'm not scared of any criticism. We're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and we all go through the bad times together. And the times when I text my coach, Mark Pearson, or ring him, and I remember coming back on a ferry from Ireland once, and I was like, Mark, this is it. We can't do it anymore. I can't come and see you. I can't afford to pay for lessons. And you know what I mean, Mark, full belief in me. Chris, you're not stopping coming to see me for lessons, so we're not stopping this journey. We just crack on, and when you get into a position, we'll touch on that subject together. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. It's just, I've got people who want me to do probably better sometimes than I want myself to do.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. And now it's time for that segment we call Game of the Week. And this week's game is, drum roll please, speed golf. So often when we're on the golf course and we get in stressful situations, we can find that our heart rate picks up or that the tension in our body increases. A great way to prepare for this and actively discover coping strategies is to play speed golf. So, first part of the game, you're going to go to the golf range, put 4 golf balls in a line. Lay your club down behind the golf ball, and then you're going to do a shuttle run. It can be as long as you want it to be. You're going to run there, touch the floor, run back, a bit like a basketballer when they run a suicide. Once you get back to your club, pick the club up, and within 10 seconds, you have to hit the golf ball in the center of the face. If you get a good strike, do this again. Get back, and if you hit the golf ball in the center of the face, repeat this process until you complete 4 golf balls. If every ball is hit in the center of the face, then what I want you to do, I want you to take this challenge to the golf course. It's very important that we transfer from the golf range to the golf course. I want you to go out to a par 5, and I want you to play the whole hole in as fast as you can. So you may hit your driver, and then you're going to run. You may hit your 3-wood just short of the green, then you're going to run. You may chip on, and then hold the putt. So in effect, you've made a birdie. So that would be 4 strokes. And if that took you 4 minutes, you then add these together, and your total score is 8. So have fun trying to hit the ball in the center of the face when you're out of breath and have a bit of tension from your shuttle runs, and then take it to a par 5 and try and set your lowest score by combining the number of strokes and the minute that it takes. Enjoy. Awesome,
that makes me think of that quote again. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So what you've got is a support network around you of people that actually care about you. That's what I get from that. Like they 100% believe and trust in you and only want to do their part to help you. And I bet you make them feel like they're part of the journey as well. That, you know, it's not all about you, but it's about everyone. It's not about me. It's about we. That's what I get from that.
Exactly. I think I've said to a lot of people, like, people think golf's an individual sport, but it's probably one of the biggest team sports on the planet. It's just, I'm the face of my team, and I'm the only one who really is seen. So, but like Ian knows, we talk a lot. I see Mark a lot. I do strength and conditioning work, and like I say, my wife's one of the biggest parts of the team as well, because she's been through probably everything I've been through and more, because she's the one at home who's probably been worried about bills and paying for things when I've been out playing and spending it all.
That's awesome. So, Chris, to go back, we've talked a little bit about dealing with adversity in 2014, and really, I guess, if we chunk the answer right up, it's the environments that you've been exposed to that have helped you build this character and strength. Can you give the listeners another example of dealing with adversity? Through our work together, I have a couple in my mind. I'd love you to pull one out and talk about how you dealt with that.
Yeah, I've got another little good story. I've done a few talks over the years of like these sort of moments. So it must have been 2015, back end of the year. So it was Challenge Stroke, and it was probably September time. Once again, no money. That's golf. And I probably had about £1,500 left to spend on golf. And I had the option to choose between going to China for Challenge Tour and trying to play on through there, or not going to China and just waiting for Q School, throwing all my eggs in that basket and going to second stage. Word had got round to people who I knew and friends, supporters, that I was struggling, and someone decided to pay for Q School for me, which meant I could go to China as well. So I paid £1,500, went to China, finished 6th in China, which got me into the final for the Challenge Tour, which meant I got direct straight to Q School final, which someone else, obviously the other £1,500 paid for the Q School final. And then from there I went on to get my card at Q School that winter, so that November. And again, if it wasn't for someone helping me out in that position, then I would have probably been at Q School, and I probably would have been in a normal 9-to-5 job now. And
talk us through the Q School journey. We get obviously lots of listeners who are golf coaches, but people don't know that I say to people, make this claim that the Q School is one of the most demanding events in world sport. Like, it is brutal. So just talk about how Q School operates, and then tell us a little bit about what happened to you during Q School.
Yeah, so Q School, it is brutal, and to be honest, I just about sneaked on the tour at the right time, which is getting a lot harder now. Obviously, there's for the numbers' sake, there's 1,000 people who went to Q School through the various stages, and potentially you could start at the first stage, 8 venues. Maybe 10% of each field get through to second stage, where there's 4 venues, and maybe another 10% get through from each stage to final stage, where there's probably approximately 200 guys at final stage. If you make the cut in the top half of the field there, you pretty much guarantee yourself a full Challenge Tour card. So for a lot of people, that's the aim. But the magic ticket is the top 25 and ties to get the card for the European Tour. So like I mentioned then, I got exempt through to final stage. So it's 6 rounds of golf at final stage, people forget. 4 rounds, then a cup. So after 4 rounds, I think I was leading after 4 rounds. So to be honest, anyone else in that situation, it's probably a pretty comfortable ride in then, you think. But I think I maybe shot 1 over 5th round, which dropped me back into sort of maybe 10th position or something. I think I had about 6 shots to play with last round, the 6th round, to get the card. I potentially threw it away and had the last 2 holes to scrape through 28th man, so it was 25 ties, and I got the last card from the Q School that year.
Now,
so you go from there.
we talk about dealing with adversity, and I remember this because I was at Bishopsgate Golf Academy, and the lead instructor there, Kevin Smelts, came in, and he said, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but your boy's leaking oil. And I was like, what do you mean he's leaking oil? He's like, well, you know, he's like a ship that's leaking oil. I was like, okay, let me have a look. So I look at the score, and I go on when you've got these last 2 holes to play, and I'm like, okay, he needs par. And I said to everyone in the office, I said, right now, I will take any bets that Chris is going to make par. And I won a little bit of money that day, but tell us how you made par. Just tell us, because you've told me that...
Before I tell you, I wouldn't have taken the bet. I mean, there's probably 2 that had themselves the course. The course is brutal. But it was one of those, I had a lot of good shots down the stretch, and when go back to 15, I knocked it on the back of the par 5 in 2. I had like a 15-footer down the hill out of the semi-rough, left it 6 foot short, missed it. Knocked it on the middle of the par 3 green, the next 3-footed it. And then 17, I absolutely smoked 3-wood down there. And I'm sort of in between clubs, pinned on this little tight ledge on the top, and said to my caddy, we're going to have to go 9-9, go hard at it. And I just smoked 3-wood past everyone's driver down there. I must have been just pumped. I hit this 9-9 straight down the stick, and I have set it's perfect. And it's hit the top of the ridge, spun back on down the slope to 50 foot. I remember hitting the putt up to about 8 feet short of the hole, and then just joke with people that I hit it with my eyes closed. somehow it went in. And I think I kind of got to the point where I don't think I really knew what was going on then. I knew I kind of guessed the point that part lost, but you're never too sure until things are confirmed. And I absolutely smoked the driver up the last, perfect. Hit 9-9 to about 25 feet above the hole, and probably one of the best pieces of sportsmanship I've ever seen was the guy I was playing with, a guy called Jean Hugo. He hit it to about 20 feet, maybe pin high right, a little bit above the hole, and I was 25 feet-ish further up the slope. And John looked at me and he said, Chris, I'm going to go first here. And I was like, no, it's okay. It's my turn. He's like, no, Chris, I'm going to go first here. And he just made it very clear to me how fast his putt was down the hill when he trickled it down there, and kind of just give me a load of help there, just to sort of settle me down and just make me aware of that little bit of information, I think. And I trickled it down to a foot and tapped it in, and sort of gave him a big hug and walked off the green and waited for confirmation.
Awesome, man. And cool. It was, I can imagine Mark Pearson, who, he puts on this front that he's quite a tough guy, and we've seen him have a little bit of a Twitter interaction where he acts big and tough, but I imagine there was a few tears from him, and I know there was a few from yourself. I think the accumulation of this person who wanted to play on tour, but wasn't England's #1 player, wasn't Yorkshire's #1 player, wasn't winning on the Challenge Tour, all comes to fruition in that moment. So that must have just been an incredible time for you. And again, it goes back to this ability to deal with adversity and the character that you developed throughout the years. So I'm going to put that audio on there so the listeners can hear it.
That would be good.
Yeah, you should.
That would be a good one.
That was a cool moment. I think it was an incredible moment, to be fair. Obviously, there was a lot of emotions riding high. And the craziest thing is, people think that's it. I mean, you get your tour card and they think that's it, you've made it. And that as crazy as that sounds, that is the general sort of consensus from people, that that's it. And I went back to Woodson where I was attached, and made a little bit of a celebratory, just get together with some friends and members and sponsors. And all of a sudden you think you're going to be playing with Rory every week, and Justin Rose every week. And in that year, 2016, I played 22 events. That was the max events I could have played that year. Bearing in mind there's probably 40 in the calendar. So I played 22 small events, and I played in one event what Rory played in, and 22 events averaging approximately £2,000 to play each event. I've nearly done 50 grand without winning a penny. All of a sudden I've gone from I got my card at Q School, but I was in the same financial position that I was.
Wow.
A month earlier, with no money. So all of a sudden, you've got to play golf now and double your expenses. The strength of the fields have improved, and you've got to earn 300 grand to keep the car out. Crazy.
Where did you finish on the money list, Chris?
I think I finished 108. I kept my card by about €5,000.
Awesome.
Wow.
Go on, Matthew.
I think,
Go on, Chris.
I think from Q School that year, I think maybe 9 people kept the card out of the 28.
Oh.
And I was the last guy at Q School, so I had the limit. I improved my ranking in May, but pretty much had the least starts of most people.
Wow. Hey, Chris, I'm going to say, what do you think a golfer needs, knowing what level you're playing at and knowing the journey that you've been through to get there, or at least we've scratched the surface today. No doubt there's so much more to it, no doubt. But what do you think a golfer needs to be able to get to the level that you're at right now? If you could put your finger on one, maybe 2 things that you believe a golfer needs, what would it be to get to your level right now?
Yeah, I think, like I touched on before, you need a strong team behind you. A good team of people who believe in you and who are willing to share the journey with you. You've got to be ready for losing. You've got to accept that it's going to be pretty tough. You're probably not going to earn any money. You've got to drive the ball in play. I think that's a big key. I think I tell people I sort of struggled away on the Challenge Tour for 4 years. I don't think my game probably changed from 15 to 2016, but I think I got a reward for being a pretty straight driver of the ball. So yeah, I think those 3 things are pretty key.
That's great.
Long and straight, ready to lose, with a good team around you.
That's what I've got. I've got team and prepare to lose.
Yeah.
All right, Ian's got some. He's got a few funny questions.
So we're just going to do a quick fire, 5 or 6 questions. Just the last thing for the listeners to take away. So, favourite book?
Favourite book? I've got this one called OSVEA. Have you heard of it?
Oh,
teed it up. He should have answered that to the previous question. What's the one thing golfers should do? Buy Ian's book. Okay. Awesome. Nice plug, Chris. Favourite movie?
Favourite movie? I've never looked at my movie collection here. Just put it up on the shelf. Favourite movie. Blood Diamond, that's a good one.
Oh, awesome. Favourite song?
I'm pretty easy with songs, really. Anything to put the radio on.
Chilled out. Okay. Favourite food?
Favourite food?
Cheesecake Factory, monster burrito.
Big fan at the moment of mozzarella and tomato. Crazy.
Oh, nice. Okay. Last 2 questions. If you could get us any guest on the show, who would it be?
If I could get you a guest?
Yeah, who would it be?
Cranky. Obviously a golfer. You're not a golfer.
You pick, man, anyone.
That's a tough question.
You want to come back to that one?
Yeah, I'll come back to
This
that one,
one's
yeah.
even tougher. This is the last one. If you had $1 million spare, what would you spend it on? Pounds in your case, or euros. Sorry, euros in your case. What would you spend it on?
What would I spend it on? I quite happily, with Laura, quite happily build our own house, create our own house, something we want, forever home.
Awesome. And then, go on then, any guest on the show?
Any guest on the show?
I don't know why, but Hulk Hogan just came to my head. I don't even know why.
You know who I really want to get on, and you know him, Chris, Hao Tong Lee, because he's basically the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. Who would you pick?
Yeah, that'd be a pretty interesting interview.
Yeah, he's given some interesting interviews in his time as well.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I can't think.
Well, I tell you what, Chris, you can tweet us the answer. You're pretty active on Twitter. Do you want to? Do you want to give anyone a shout out? Do you want to give any sponsors a shout out, or your blog a shout out, or anything like that before you go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Obviously, I've got my own website, chrishansongolf.com, and I put a blog on there every event, which which I enjoy doing, and like Matt touched on, it's kind of a way of sharing the journey with everyone else who's supported me, and not just for sponsors but for friends and family, and I mean, I've had some incredible support over the years from people, and I keep in touch with everyone, and the messages I get week in, week out are absolutely incredible. So I enjoy writing that blog and just sharing a bit of an insight, not just for them, but then for, you know, aspiring pros, and you know what I mean. I get a lot of interesting emails from people wanting advice and saying they've read the blog and it's given them a great insight into what we've got in store for them, and hopefully that's what it does. So if people want to check it out and send me a tweet and a message about it, that'd be great.
Awesome, man. Well, Chris, I just want to thank you because I've been part of your team for a while now, and I'm supposed to be the mental coach, but I think I'm learning as much from you, probably more than I'm teaching you. So I want to thank you for that, and I think that the way you conduct yourself on and off the golf course, you're a model professional to all. So well done, keep it up, and best of luck for the rest of the season, buddy.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Thanks a lot, Chris. Well, Ian, I'm excited we've done this. I'm excited we're going to share this with everybody. I think it's going to just be a straight up badass podcast. So thanks again. If you want to check this out on YouTube, you can. We videoed the whole thing, but we would certainly recommend that you tune in, subscribe to our mailing list on the website, gltgolf.com. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We do have a face for the radio, but we're filming the whole thing for YouTube. So subscribe, check it out. We'll see you soon.
See you guys. Thanks a lot, Chris.